All rise. The ceremonial session of the United States District Court for the District of Nebraska is now in session. The Honorable Lord Smith Camp, Chief Judge presiding. God save the United States and this honorable court.
Please remain standing and join the singing of God Bless America, led by Brian Becky.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you. You may be seated. Welcome to the U.S. District Court for the District of Nebraska for this celebration and tribute to our friend and our colleague, Judge Lyle Strom. That song was chosen because I knew that Judge Strom knew the lyrics to the song. That's because Judge Strom and I go to Rotary together on Wednesday noons. I always look forward to that, to the drive to and from, because I get to talk to my good friend Lyle for 20 minutes each direction. And we always sing God Bless America. And Judge Strom, I can tell which of your grandchildren were raised in England because they don't know the lyrics. This event may be a little bit premature because Judge Strom is not going to be taking inactive status until the end of November. But we wanted to schedule it at a time when his family members were able to attend and to hear everybody say nice things about their father and grandfather.
Wait.
I should mention that they were here to see the eclipse. They went out to the Alliance area right in the path of the totality, and they camped out and enjoyed family time together. And for the Strom family, that means people coming in from all around the world. And I think that we might start with Judge Strom either introducing or asking his family to introduce themselves so that we know how many children and grandchildren, nieces and nephews were able to join you here today. Judge Strom, do you want to take that lead or ask Amy to help with the introductions?
Well, I don't remember their names. Why don't we just start here and have them stand and introduce them?
That would be perfect. And please tell us.
Start with you, Cassie.
Where you live.
Cassie.
Where you live.
And I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm Molly, and I live in, I'm the number 6, and I live in London, England.
Oh, welcome.
I'm Amy. I'm the third charm. You might know me more as the favorite. That's how I know he refers to me, but I live in Taiwan right now, so.
Cassie, yeah, we go in age order. Sit down, Dave. The last to the third to the fourth. And just so you know, Dad and Mom never remembered our names when we were growing up either. It was always Cassie, whoever you are. So Cassie lived in St. Louis.
I have to mention that Brenda Faber is making a record in this case. I can't wait to see how that line looks.
Chirpy, cheep, cheep.
And I'm David. I live in Indianapolis with my wife Sylvia.
Grandkids?
I'm Kim George, and I'm a granddaughter, and this is my parents right here, and I live in St. Louis.
I'm Toby, grandson, and live in London. Here's my twin.
My name's Timo, and mum is Molly, and my granddad is Brian.
And Missy can't be here, and Brian is sick.
Yeah.
Oh,
So introduce your girlfriend.
This is my girlfriend Ellie.
Yeah, that's Nadine.
Very good. Well, let's give a, is that all the family members? Judge Strom?
Molly's
Please
husband.
don't introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm the unfortunate dad.
And the younger set of twins didn't make it over, is that right?
They're here, but they're
Yeah, they're,
later.
yeah.
They're not
They're
here.
that's Brian's, and there's,
Yeah, they're-
sick, so they're playing later.
All right, very
Got
good.
that, Brenda?
We will look forward to seeing the baby twins a little bit later, but let's give all the members of the Strom family a round of applause for coming from around the world. Now, before I introduce our keynote speaker and solicit remarks from other members of the bench, I want to mention a few of the milestones and highlights of Judge Strom's life and career. Lyle Strom was born in 1925. That was the year that F. Scott Fitzgerald published The Great Gatsby. That was the year that Clarence Darrow and William Jennings Bryan faced off in the Scopes trial in Tennessee. And that was the year that Mount Rushmore was dedicated. And in fact, Judge Strom, you are a little bit older than Mount Rushmore.
It was roughly around.
I don't know, I haven't been on it. 1925 was also the year that Paul Newman, Rock Hudson, and Johnny Carson were born. So it was a vintage year for great men. Lyle served in the Merchant Marine in World War II and married Regina Kelly in 1950. Together they raised 5 girls and 2 boys. Lyle graduated from Creighton University and Creighton Law School and was admitted to the bar in 1953. That was the year that I was born. Just saying. Lyle had a very distinguished career in private practice and taught as an adjunct professor at Creighton Law School for 33 years. He was the director of the law school's internship program for more than 20 years. In 1985, President Ronald Reagan nominated Lyle to the United States District Court bench, where he has served with great distinction over the last 32 years. From 1987 to 1994, Judge Strom was chief judge of the district, and he can be credited with the fact that the people of Nebraska and others who seek justice in this court enjoy this beautiful building. Lyle has been admitted to many exclusive organizations, but of course not ones that practice invidious discrimination. He has served as a fellow in the American College of Trial Lawyers, a fellow in the International Academy of Trial Lawyers, a bronze fellow in the Nebraska State Bar Foundation, a delegate in the Nebraska State Bar Association's House of Delegates, president of the Omaha Rotary Club, chairman of the Mid-America Council Boy Scouts of America, president of the Omaha Bar Association, and is a member of the 8th Circuit's Gender Fairness Task Force. And with so many daughters, he had good training for that position. He has been honored with the Omaha Bar Association's Lifetime Achievement Award, the 8th Circuit Professionalism Award from the American Inns of Court, and the Creighton University School of Law Faculty Award. The Nebraska Bar Foundation's high school mock trial competition has been named in his honor in recognition of his many years of leadership in that competition on the state and the national levels. My personal favorite among Judge Strom's many honors was the renaming of a pupillage in the Robert M. Spire American Inn of Court in Judge Strom's honor. For Judge Strom to get his own eponymous pupillage, the members of the Spire Inn of Court had to be persuaded that Judge Strom was more distinguished than the judge whose name had been associated with the pupillage since the founding of the inn. No doubt it was a tough choice, but Judge Strom's name replaced that of Judge Roy Bean, the law west of the Pecos. Congratulations, Judge Strom. Now, the judge at this bench who knows Judge Strom best is our first speaker, Judge William J. Riley of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit. Judge Riley clerked for Judge Donald Lay of the 8th Circuit and then joined Lyle Strom in the Fitzgerald, Shore, Bartmettler, and Brennan firm, where Lyle served as a mentor to Bill in trial practice and in the teaching of trial practice. When President George W. Bush offered Bill a nomination to the U.S. Court of Appeals in 2001, Judge Strom persuaded Bill to accept the nomination, even though it wasn't the district trial judgeship that Bill had in mind. Judge Riley served as Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals for 7 years, working closely with Chief Justice Roberts on the Judicial Conference and its Executive Committee, and serving as the court's long-range planning coordinator. Please welcome Judge Riley.
Thank you, Strom. The life we honor and celebrate today belongs to a Nebraska legal icon, both as a trial lawyer and as a judge, spanning over 60 years. He is gifted with exceptional talent and skill, the highest integrity, and he's a caring person with charming wit. And I was often the victim of that wit. I want to give you an example. One of the things I think I was asked to do this was because Judge Strom and I practiced together, and then of course we're on the bench at the same time. His character was such that about everybody that knew him liked him. In fact, he had on his desk, somebody had given him a cartoon of lovable Lyle. And that was one of the terms around the office at Fitzgerald Shore and Fitzgerald Brown was lovable Lyle. One thing that we lawyers, as trial lawyers, we usually get very upset at the lawyers on the other side. And Judge Strom was no exception to that. But after he would be very critical of the lawyer on the other side, he would then always say something good about them. And one of his lines that I remember was, he'd be upset at somebody and he said, but you know, he always is falling forward. And by that was a compliment, which meant no matter how many times we might knock him down or her down, they were always falling forward and getting somewhere. Judge Strom was a mentor to many, including me, both as a young lawyer and as a young judge. I could tell you a lot of stories, but I'll tell you one. I was a very young lawyer, and we were doing a criminal trial in federal court. And example of a good mentor is to tell you how to handle some very difficult situations. One of them, as a trial lawyer, what you're always worried about in a trial, well, your objections. You know, will I make the right objection? Will I make it timely? Will I be able to argue it, and so forth? Well, as a young lawyer, I carried his briefcase to the courthouse, and we tried this criminal case in front of Judge Denny. And Judge Denny was a stickler for the rules. Well, somewhere during that trial, all of a sudden, the AUSA stood up and he asked some question of the witness, and Judge Strom jumped up, Lyle Strom then, and he said, I object. There was silence. Judge Denny looked down and he said, Mr. Strom, on what grounds do you object? And you can see the wheels turning. He said, "I just don't like the questions." And Judge Danny looked at me, kind of leaned back in his chair, and he said, "Well, Mr. Strom, I don't like the question either." Your objection sustained. So I learned the "I don't like the question" objection. I could probably, Professor Fenner probably has written about that, I would hope, in his evidence books. In that same trial, Judge Strom thought things were going well enough that he thought he could risk it by having me do the closing argument. Now this is a criminal trial, so there's a lot on the line. So I did the closing argument, and I came over and sat down, and we were sitting there, and I leaned over and I said, "Well," and he leaned over and he said, "Well, you eventually got to the point." So that was one of my, but not my first closing argument, and I learned maybe to get to the point on it. Then when I became a judge, one of the first opinions I wrote was one affirming Judge Strom. And I was on a panel with the circuit judge that I had clerked for, Judge Donald Lay. And Judge Bowman was on it. Judge Bowman agreed with me. Judge Lay said it. And he wrote in there and he said, well, the majority opinion in affirming Judge Strom was myopic. And of course, the World Herald covers it, because we're all these Nebraska judges, and it says, "New circuit judge writes myopic opinion." So, taking advantage of that, I went down to his chambers and I threw that down. I said, "See what I had to do to affirm you? I had to write a myopic opinion." Well, I got a little bit even, at least so I thought, a couple of years later. I had another one of his opinions, and so I had prepared a very official 8th Circuit opinion and took it down to Gene and had Gene put it on his desk. And here it was, and it said, one sentence. It said, "For the reasons stated in the district court's opinion, we reverse." Now, I thought that was very smart. Well, I finally got him. And just about an hour or two later, we got at our desk an opinion from the United States Supreme Court. And it said, "Based on the well-reasoned opinion of the district court, we reverse the 8th Circuit and reinstate the opinion." So you can see everything we do in court is very serious, and we try not to be frivolous. Well, some of the things that Chief Judge Smithcamp mentioned, I'm going to repeat just a little different context. But Judge Strom is very proud of his family. He loves them dearly. Obviously, his wife, Regina, is not here, is passed. But I noticed Mary, Mitzi's not here. Well, I wanted to point out how accomplished they are. Mary Hawkins is the president of Bellevue University and must be busy educating people, I guess. And Susan is deceased, and then Amy is a teacher in Taiwan. Taught school in Washington State for 29 years. Cassie is a lawyer in St. Louis, also worked at the 8th Circuit at one time, and is a retired 2-star general. And every time I saw Cassie, I would give her a hug, and I said, "I want people to know that I've hugged a general." And it is a cute story made out at the Air Force Academy when I ran into her and I had my grandchildren. She was excited to see me, I was excited to see her, and she got all of her soldiers, her cadets there. They take our picture, and my little grandchildren came up. They were getting the picture, because they're always in the picture. I said, "We don't want you in this picture." And so my grandchildren went away just wondering, what in the world is our grandpa doing there that they want their picture with him and not us? David, associate professor, of pharmacology at Marion University in Indiana. Molly, a biochemist. We're doing research in London. And Brian is an architect and living and working in London. We also have, Judge Strom's had 33 law clerks. And I know some of them are here today, but they're former clerks. They're from Sioux Falls, Nashville, Chicago, and Idaho are in attendance, I'm told. So I'm not going to have you to introduce yourselves, but all of Judge Strom's law clerks, please stand. These law clerks are the ones that keep us honest and what I call my brain trust. They're outstanding. In fact, several of them, of Judge Strom's law clerks, went on and became law clerks at the 8th Circuit with me. Chief Judge Smith-Camp went through some of these things, but I want you to sit back. I'm going to go through some of the, many, but not all of the accomplishments of Judge Strom. When he was attending Omaha North High School was when World War II started. He wanted to join the Navy. His eyesight wasn't good enough. And somebody at the Tech High School where he's taking class said, well, why don't you check out the Merchant Marine? And he became a radio operator in the Merchant Marine. I don't know if you know about military history in the Merchant Marine, but that was probably one of the most deadly jobs you could do because the Merchant Marine were fairly unprotected and always getting shot at by German U-boats and other ships. But while he was in the Merchant Marine, he noticed some of these other seamen there who had higher education, had gone to college. Some of them were lawyers. And he decided, you know, they're pretty smart people who do well. I may try that. So he decided he would try that and went to Creighton. And Judge Strom said, if it hadn't been for the war, I just might have been a bum riding the railroad. And so it was working with educated people in the Merchant Marine that convinced him maybe he ought to try to go to school, have advanced education. And you heard he graduated from Creighton undergrad and Creighton Law School cum laude. I had to sit and look at his plaque on the wall all those years I worked for him. It said highest triennial average or whatever, means he had the highest grade all 3 years. Then in private practice at Fitzgerald Brown, became Fitzgerald Brown, Lay, Strom, Show, and Barman. He also worked for, he came in, as I came in later as a young lawyer and learned at the foot of other excellent lawyers. And he would often pass on advice or things that he learned over time. He was a great mentor. You've heard he taught at Creighton, but you probably don't know that he taught municipal corporations at Creighton. And he taught trial practice, and he became the Robin M. Spire Internship Program clinical professor. Now, some of these years that he taught trial practice at Creighton, he was rarely there. Somebody else filled in for him a lot. To the point I said, why don't you give up the class and just let me teach it? But he had the outlines, he had the work all I did was just perpetuate the great work that he'd been doing. As you heard, he then became United States District Judge in Nebraska in 1985, appointed by President Ronald Reagan. Served as Chief Judge from 87 to 94. You may have, some of you have forgotten, but he shepherded and went through the design and initial construction of this building. And he'd be happy to tell you how easy it is to work with GSA. But this is a family affair, so we won't talk about that. And he assumed senior status on November 2nd, 1995. Judge Strom had 282 cases appealed to the 8th Circuit. He was affirmed 191 times. Some were partially affirmed, partially reversed. He was only reversed 29 times. That's an affirmance ratio of over 85%, which is excellent. And over his 13 years, he presided over trials not only in Nebraska, but Alabama, New Mexico, North Carolina, New York, Minnesota, Iowa, and South Dakota. He sat on the Courts of Appeals of the 9th Circuit, the 11th Circuit, and the 8th Circuit, where he and I sat together in Kansas City. So it was a particular pleasure for me to get to sit with Judge Strom on the 8th Circuit. That was set up by some chief judge at the time who had some pull and rigged the panel, I think. It worked out well. He also testified before Congress in support of equalizing the sentencing ratio between crack cocaine and powder cocaine, and he was a huge advocate of what he believed was the unfair disparity between those. Those of you that know how his work schedule, he gets up about 4:30 in the morning, goes to, works out, often goes to mass, and needs to work early. And therefore, he expects lawyers to be at work early and on time. And he can be a little disgruntled if you're not there on time. I'm going to come to some comments Gene makes in just a minute about that. And you've also heard he was the president of the Omaha Bar Association, president of the Nebraska State Bar Association. He was American College of Trial Lawyers fellow and state chair. He was a fellow in the International Academy of Trial Lawyers. Let me back up a minute. The American College of Trial Lawyers is a huge recognition because they only take the top 1% of lawyers in the United States or in any individual state. So it speaks volumes about his ability as a trial lawyer. He's also been the Archbishop's Committee for Educational Development to the President, in 1983 to the President and Chairman. Omaha Rotary Club President, you heard. Mid-American Council, Boy Scouts of America. He was a Scoutmaster of Troop 407. He's chairman of their executive committee, Juvenile Diversion Program, which he was one of the founders of, where to take youth and have them go through a Boy Scout program that juvenile courts would allow them, if they fulfilled the program, they would have their record clean. And I took one of those. It was an amazing program and helped a lot of young men and women. And he's been on the board of trustees and the executive committee. He's also received the 8th Circuit Professionalism Award from the American Inns of Court. I know a little bit about that because it's really selected by the chief judge of the circuit. I was not the chief judge when he got it, so I had nothing to do with it. But when I was chief judge, we did I reviewed these. And while the national office always reviews the materials, they take a lot of the deference to the chief judge of the circuit. And that is a huge award. I have seen the applications for lawyers and judges all over the 8th Circuit, and they're outstanding people. For him to earn that and receive that is an amazing accomplishment and recognition. He's got the Nebraska State Bar Foundation Distinguished Service Award twice, 1995 and 2001. The Omaha Bar Association Lifetime Achievement Award and the Nebraska State Bar Association George Turner Award. He has established 2 scholarships, one at Creighton, the Lyle and Regina Strom Scholarship, and one at Bellevue University, the Lyle and Regina Strom Scholarship, dedicated to single mothers working to better their education. You heard from Chief Judge Smithcamp about the high school mock trial project. It's placed in his name because he was the guiding light for the high school mock trial competition in Nebraska, and he's judged it in the past many times, the national competition. Now to Gene Reeder, his judicial assistant. Gene little bit about Jean. Jean entered federal service at the ripe old age of 18. When she took a job at the United States Attorney's Office in Omaha. 10 years later, when she worked for Judge Lyle, Judge Dyer, Judge Schatz, and then Judge Strom over the 10 years, because it says there she's 28 years old. Okay.
I work for you too.
And I cannot forget to say that she was also my secretary as a law clerk, which was a big help because I didn't know how to type. Anyway, Jean said that Judge Strom, that he was just Lyle Strom, was in Judge Schatz's courtroom more than any other lawyer in town. She told Judge Strom that and said, you know, I've known you a long time and I still took the job as your judicial assistant. To which he replied, you know, I could say the same thing. Jean pointed out that when he was a lawyer, he was pretty intense, and that's true. He was very intense and very committed to his clients, working as hard as he could, no matter what the case was, or sometimes however right or wrong their position was. He did the best to give them the best representation they can. But she said as he put on the role, he became very patient and fair. I don't know if she was saying you were not patient and fair as a lawyer, but there's probably some truth to that. She described you as a good mentor and teacher, not only for the law clerks, but for me as well. When you were sworn in 1985, United States District Judge Robert Van Pelt made a comment, and you repeated it to me when you swore me in 2001. And he said, Lyle Strom got you this job, and Lyle Strom will be a great judge. Meaning, I think, be yourself. Don't try to be somebody or not. Don't try to copy somebody. Just be yourself. And Lyle Strom was an excellent human being and lawyer. If you did the same, you'd be a great judge. Well, I'm here to tell you that you are still Lyle Strom, and you have been a great judge. I want to thank you from all of us who have observed and learned from you about how to be a better lawyer, a better judge, and a better person. We are in your debt. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Ryan. I'm now going to turn to my colleagues here at the bench, and Judge Arlen Beam, who is a senior judge of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit, has known Judge Strom for many years, worked with him in many capacities. And Judge Beam, would you share some thoughts with us, please?
Thank you, Judge Camp. My remarks will be a bit shorter than my colleague, Judge Ryan. It's a great pleasure to have been allowed to laud and honor the remarkable career of today's retiree, Judge Lyle Elmer Strom. I didn't know there was an Elmer in that until a couple of days ago. I have personally experienced his character and skills as both a trial lawyer and judge. It was my special pleasure to serve with him for 2 years on the district court and to vote to affirm him, I believe, every time one of his decisions reached an appeals court panel of which I was a member. Now, Lyle, if my memory is a bit incomplete on that, I'm sure you will straighten me out before the day is over. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard me refer to Lyle's character, which is superlative in every respect, save one. That is his character to whoop the tar out of me every time we got on the golf course together. But I hope this retirement will allow time for more demonstrations of his bad character in that regard. Judge Strom, there are more voices to be heard, so I will quickly conclude by saying thank you for a job well done. Good luck, good health, and God be with you. Thank you.
I'm going to turn to my right now, going in order of seniority, likely how long people have known Judge Strom, and Judge Cupp is a senior judge of the U.S. District Court. And Judge Cupp, do you have some remarks to share?
Oh my God, yes. For 25 years, you and I, since I was appointed in '92, have exchanged insults. And I'll be damned if I'm going to stop now. Now, if you...
I may get a chance.
Okay. Now, if you really beat Beam on the golf course, that's sad. Because you play golf like a girl.
What?
That's good.
Joan says she loves you. As a former merchant mariner, you will understand when I say over and out. Thank you.
We'll now turn to the newest member of this upper bench, and that is Judge Robert Rossiter Jr., who joined us almost exactly 1 year ago, a little over 1 year ago. So Judge Rossiter, you and Judge Strom go back much farther than that, though, and so I hope that you have some remarks to share.
Yes, I do. And I'm honored to be up here to honor Judge Strom, but I am sad that he's retiring. I'm disappointed that my one-year neighbor down the hall is leaving. And of course, I'm talking about Gene. Judge Riley talked about trial practice, and we do go way back. My attorney wife, Mary Beth, is here, and she took your trial practice course back in 1980.
Probably better trial lawyer than you then.
Much better. It was Judge Cupp that was insulting.
You see what I had to put up with.
I decided, Judge Strom, that the reason I'm here is because of you and the Fitzgerald Shore firm and my wife, Mary Beth. Because if you walk into the Fitzgerald Shore firm, there's a picture on the wall of Judge Strom, Judge Riley, and our bankruptcy judge, Judge Saladino. Mary Beth joined the firm, I think, about a year before I was nominated. Went over to that firm, and I've decided that the only reason I got the judgeship is because I had some connection with the Fitzgerald Shore law firm, so thank you. I first met Judge Strom and observed him when I was a law clerk through the man I still call boss, Judge Beam, when he was on the district court bench. And I got to see Lyle Strom in action then, and I practiced with a lot of really good litigators, but oh, what a litigator you were. I learned so much during my clerkship and following that about how to try a lawsuit. we've talked about your public service and one of the places that I got to meet you and interact with you is your time with the Nebraska State Bar Association. And you are a man committed to public service and service to the bar, and you have been for years. When you were nominated to the bench in October of 1985, I thought, wow, this is going to be some great judge, given what you were as a litigator. But I thought, he's so old. He's 60. And almost 32 years later, he's still going. A side note, I was 15 days short of my 60th birthday when I received my commission. So I've got a ways to go. You've done Nebraska and the United States District Court for the District of Nebraska proud. And Judge Riley talked about your law clerks, and they're an impressive bunch. I do have a bone to pick with you because when I was at Fraser Stryker, you sent 2 down and they are here today. And why you would send us the bottom of the barrel. We're going to hear from one of them later, so I probably shouldn't say. But they are an impressive bunch, and the law clerks are a testament I've seen over the years to the judges that they work for. It's my pleasure, it's been my pleasure to know you and now serve with you for a short period of time. You will be missed by us, but you promised me that you will be around some and come down the hall for coffee, and I hope you do. Best of luck.
Follow through on a couple of Judge Riley's comments. And first, I just want to make sure that Amy was recognized. Amy, you were mentioned? I didn't. Okay, Amy has taught all around the world and now teaches in Taiwan. And so I wanted to make sure that people knew how far you had come for this event and some of the exotic locations where Judge Strom travels from time to time.
Actually, her whole goal is to get as far away as she can. Follow up, that's exactly what she's been doing.
That's what it appears. I can understand.
I actually knew everyone would understand.
Then I want to turn to the law clerks for a moment. Judge Strom, no doubt, provided remarkable training for young lawyers in many ways, not just in the study of law, the practice of law, but in the ethics that you observed within his chambers and the spirit that he imbued in the people that he worked with. And I want you to have an opportunity to tell us your names, perhaps when you worked with Judge Strom and where you are working now. But I do want to warn the members of the public that these are truly luminaries. These folks have gone on in their legal careers and they are shining stars. These are glitterati. So Strom family members, be careful if you look at them too long. It could damage the retina. Opportunity to reuse those glasses. So we're going to start in the back row in the jury box with Rob Futhy. And Rob, would you stand? Tell us when you worked with Judge Strom. Speak loudly so everybody can hear you, and where you're working now.
I'm Rob Futhy. I worked with Judge Strom from 2009 to 2011. I'm one of the bottom feeders over at Fraser Stryker.
Maggie Ebert. I worked for Judge Strom from 2010 to 2012. I went on to work for Chief Justice Heavican, and now I'm over at QTAC Rock. And Judge Strom agreed to be the officiant at my wedding ceremony in 2015. And I was very nervous to call and ask him, and I called, and on the other line he said, "Well, Maggie, I won't marry you, but I will first be officiant at the wedding."
Carol Savolas. I clerked for Judge Strom from 2011 to 2013, and then for Judge Riley from 2013 to 2015. And now I'm at QTAC Rock with Maggie and Megan.
I'm Nick Thielen. I clerked for Judge Strom from 2012 to 2014, and I'm now Deputy General Counsel at HPB Management Group.
Jason Graham's clerked with Judge Strom from 2007 to 2009, and with Judge Riley from 2009 to 2011. I'm a partner at Lamson, Dugan & Murray.
Jordan Hassan, I clerked with Judge Strom from 2014 to 2016, and I'm at Klein Williams.
My name is Skylar Pearson. I'm still currently with Judge Strom. I started in 2015, I believe on September 1st. I can attest to all the awards that were mentioned today because I had to move them from the wall to the jury room when the windows were being moved. And Judge Strom, I think I'm the only law clerk he has that's been accused of throwing one of those awards away. I didn't do that.
I'm Nick Remkus. I'm the last hired law clerk, and so effective next week I'll be going to Salt Lake City to be the Strong and Handy.
My name is Angela Reed. I clerked for Judge Strom from 05 to 06. I worked up until about a couple years ago as a partner at a firm in Idaho called Gibbons Parsley, which not everyone here will be familiar with. I now own and run a company in Idaho. My name is Megan Blinn. I clerked for Judge Strom from 2006 to 2008, and I also had the privilege to clerk for Judge Smithkamp the year before that, and Judge Riley after that. I'm currently at QTAC Rock.
I'm Rebecca Bortolotti. I clerked for the judge 99 to 2001, and we're former Chief Technology Counsel at Conagra Foods and soon to be partner at Advent. And little did I know when I interviewed to clerk for the judge that lifting boxes was part of the job description. Because during my tenure, we moved into this beautiful new building, and that was the time when judges all had full libraries, right? So we were moving boxes, redoing the library. So it was a great experience, and we had a wonderful opportunity to enjoy this new building.
I'm Lori Gracer, and I clerked for Judge Strom from 92 to 94, and I'm currently Associate General Counsel at First Data Corporation. And Amy, I think you said you were the favorite daughter. I can relate because I was the favorite son.
My name is Jerry Savoy. I clerked for Judge Strom in 1989 and again in 1990 through 1992. I'm District Counsel for the Office of the Control of the Currency in Chicago. And I worked for Gene all those years as well.
I'm Dave Schmidt. I'm a partner at Lamson, Dugan & Murray, and I clerked for the judge from 1989 to 1991.
I'm Brad White. I'm currently in-house counsel for Law Credit Services, and I clerked for the judge in 1988 for a brief time, and Judge B moved up to the circuit court, and then gone to clerk for Judge Lyle.
I'm Mike Huffer. I was fortunate to be the judge's first law clerk, along with Maura Kennedy from 1985 to 1987. And I have been with Cass and Tierney here in Omaha ever since.
I am Ken Hartman. I clerked for His Honor from 2001 to 2003, and I'm with the Bear Home Law Firm currently.
I'm Pat Cooper. I clerked for Judge Strom from 2002 to 2004, and I'm apparently the other bottom feeder.
I'm Dina Abel. I worked for the judge from 2003 to 2005, and I'm currently in the legal department at Kiewit.
I'm Tracy Oldmeyer, and I clerked from 96 to 98. I'm in the Fort Collins office of Klein Williams, and Dan George and Cassie live about a mile away, so I get to see the judge on the road show. He had never been in my house before, but he walked through the front door and found the bottle of scotch. And I can echo, I think it was mixed comments about moving, because I think when I started, Tim Ashoff and I had to take all the awards down in the old building and move them because you move down a floor. So I understand why the ceilings are so tall in this building, because you had so many awards, we had to go up.
Jeff Brekevich, I clerked from 2000 to 2002. I practiced in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm a trial lawyer with the Banks McCullen firm.
Let's give the former law clerk. Now, before I ask Ken and Pat to come forward and say a few words, I also want to recognize the individuals who had served as courtroom deputies in the Strom courtroom over the years, and I'll just ask that they please stand up as I read their names so that we can recognize you after all those names are read. Barbara Campbell, Denise Lux, Kathy Parrish, Tawana Lawrence, Mary Roundtree. Let's give them a round of applause. And then the court reporters that I'll ask to stand, making it awkward for Ms. Faber to report. Well, Jack Fitch is deceased. Alan Coleman, Brenda Faber, Sue DeVetter, and Rogine Schroeder. Round of applause. And now, Ken and Pat, would you like to come forward to the podium to say a few words?
We drew the short straws, right? Well, Judge, when we heard that, or you told us that you were taking inactive senior status, the clerks started to talk and say, what can we do to honor this man that means so much to us? And we went back and forth quite a bit on what we could do that would be appropriate. One of the things that we thought would send a message to you of what we believe in, what you mean to us, is to show up here today. So we tried to get here as much as we could. Now, a few of us couldn't make it. We have a really good turnout. Jen Schwartz is in Chicago. She just has 2 new twin boys, which is something you and your family know quite a bit about. Kathy Ford isn't here today. She tells me that she refers to herself as number 3, as your 3rd law clerk. And because she knows your competitive streak, she told us to make sure we let you know that she retired before you did. So, so there's that. But really, Judge, you mean so much to us, and it's hard for us to express what that means to us. We think back to what you did for us when we were clerking for you, what you taught us about the law, what you taught us about life, what you did as we left your chambers and we entered the practice of law, which is something you strongly believe we should do. And so we entered into law, and you mentored us along the way. And I think if we did a poll, we would say that one of the things we remember most fondly about working with you is that you instilled into us the understanding that humor and laughter is an important part of life and the practice. And I fondly remember the days of clerking with you that almost on a daily basis you could hear laughter somewhere throughout your chambers. So that's part of what you mean to us, not everything, of course. And we thought we could all start telling Strom stories, but then we'd be here for days and we'd be violating some of the rules that you instilled in us. You taught us to be simple, to be short, and by gosh, and Judge Lyle E mentioned this already, get to the point. So we're going to get to the point, and there's 2 things that we kind of came around to that we wanted to get accomplished here today. And the first one is a recognition of the person in the Strom chambers that makes sure everything runs smoothly. It's not too often that all of us get together like this. We do show up in pretty good numbers to your barbecue every year. And my kids, by the way, want you to make sure you continue those on because it's one of their favorite events every year. And but a lot of us are here today, and that person that helps make your chambers run so smoothly, she does not like the limelight, she does not like the spotlight. She's probably not too happy with us right now. But we thought it was most appropriate to make sure to tell her what she meant to us. And again, that's hard for us to do, Jean. When we interviewed with you, Your Honor, I learned later on that really what you're looking for is, does this person fit in my little world? Turns out your world's not so little, but when we're with you in chambers, it's you, another law clerk, and Jean. And the two constants have been you and Jean. And Jean does everything to make sure that your wishes are complied with. She has helped us grow as we learned for 2 years from you and from her, quite frankly. She has watched us as we've spread our wings and gone off on our own paths in the law. And we want to let you know, Jean, that there's nothing more in life that we cherish as much as your friendship. And we thank you for that, and we will continue to make sure we're able to stay in touch with you. We've always known where we could find you. I could walk across the street and say hello or call you. And we think we've kind of found a solution for that, and we'll get to that later. But Jean, we cherish that friendship, and we look forward to continuing it into the future. And I guess I would just ask, okay, now that I'm really in trouble, I think I might exit. So the second thing we came to was, how in the world can we symbolize to you, Judge, what you've meant to us? And through some discussion, we were able to get to what we think will be appropriate. And Pat's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Well, like Ken said, when we heard news of your retirement, the law clerks, that sparked a lot of conversations amongst your law clerks about our experiences clerking for you, our fond memories from your chambers, and about the impact that you've had on all of us. Most of us, when we showed up for the first day in your chambers, were fresh out of law school and had no real experience. And we didn't know very much, and we probably weren't all that helpful at the outset. But what we quickly learned was that as good as Judge Strom is as a judge, he is perhaps even better as a teacher and as a mentor, and he was willing to invest his time in each and every one of us to make sure that we had the opportunity to have tremendous growth opportunities, both personally and professionally, in the 2 years that we were with him and beyond. And so we thank you so much for everything you did for each and every one of us in that regard. And we're not alone as beneficiaries in your interest in being a teacher and a mentor and a person who wants to impact young people. Obviously, we've heard about your time as a scoutmaster, your time with the teen court program, all the teaching and advising that you've done at the Creighton Law School, your involvement in the high school mock trial project. And so there are a lot of people who you have touched in that same way. So our conversation came back around to your role as a teacher and as a mentor and as a person who has shown such passion for developing young people, passion for education. And we also came back to your connection and your affinity for your alma mater at Creighton University. And as you heard earlier, Judge Strom had established a scholarship fund many years ago at Creighton, and he also has established one at Bellevue. And in talking with the folks at the Creighton Law School, we learned that Judge Strom had more recently expressed some interest in creating a new scholarship fund, a new endowed scholarship fund at the Creighton Law School that would benefit law students in need but also give preference to law students who are single mothers or single parents. And we thought it would be a terrific tribute to you if we, your former law clerks, got that scholarship off the ground. And so we're pleased to announce that we have established the Honorable Lyle Strom Endowed Scholarship Fund at the Creighton Law School out of our gratitude for the past 32 years of mentoring and friendship that you've given us. So I know you have a lot of plaques and certificates already, but Creighton put together one more. It's just a copy of the first page of the new scholarship agreement for the endowed scholarship. And so if you would, we would ask you to come forward and allow us to stand and applaud and salute you for the contributions that you've made to each of us.
Judge Strom, please be seated, people. Now, Judge Strom, I was going to say, when a criminal defendant appears in court, we always say you don't have to say anything. You have a right to allocution if you wish to speak.
I just have one statement to make to all of you. They've really described a wonderful person here. I wish I could beat that person. That might be very helpful to me. But I want to thank all of you, the prior clerks of the court and the people I've been with. Whatever I've accomplished is because of the support and help and enthusiasm I've received from all of you. So thank you very much.
Mary Hawkins slipped in very discreetly. She's in the back. Mary, would you just stand for a moment so everybody gets to sign and say hi. And I also want to thank Susie Cordero again for the work that she did in organizing this event. She does an amazing job. Well, I want to mention that I first met Lyle Strom in the 1960s. And when I met him, I thought, wow, he's a lot friendlier than most lawyers. He's a lot happier than most lawyers. And I thought, if I ever graduate from high school and go on to law school, that's the kind of lawyer that I'd really like to be. And Judge Strom, you were the kind of judge that I still really want to be. We are so grateful for all you have done for the court, the legal community, and for your friendship over the years. Now, I want to mention that, like the death of Mark Twain, the retirement of Judge Strom is somewhat exaggerated. He is still going to be giving us advice. He is still going to share his company with us as much as we can persuade him to do so. And we will still be looking to him for guidance and moral support and wisdom. But he has a lot of other things that I know he wants to do. He loves traveling, he loves golf, he loves swimming, he loves hiking. And you may know that he also loves baseball. He goes down to spring training in the spring down in Florida. And we need some symmetry to this event. We started with a song, and so we need to end with a song. And there aren't very many songs about golf or swimming, but I think we have one about baseball that we could finish with. And I'll mention a couple things as Brian is moving up toward the podium to lead us in one verse of that song. We do ask that Judge Strom and Jean meet with the former law clerks in the Special Proceedings Chambers for just a few minutes after this event. And then, of course, starting at 2:30, the Strom family is very generously hosting the gathering, the reception that will be down in the atrium. And we're very grateful to you for your generosity and hospitality in doing that. Now, let's rise for the singing of Take Me Out to the Ballgame.
Take me out to the ballgame. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, for it's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Thank you all very much. It makes me feel good to believe that maybe I did accomplish something in my life that's worthwhile. Besides raising this batch of children. I'm trying to be all over the world. So thank you again for coming.